Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open here from Caldwell, Ohio. I'm Tandy, joined by Bo Matt. Say hi, Bo Matt.
Hi, Bo Matt.
We got 2 rounds in the books, and we got 6 more of Swiss to go before we go to top 8. So far, we've seen a little bit of Yawgmoth, maybe getting his butt kicked, maybe not looking so good. We've seen Esper Control start off 2-0, but we're about to watch 2 new players in this round. Why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown of what we're going to be watching this round?
So in one corner we have Jeff Snodgrass playing a Rakdos mid-range deck. This is actually not the same as the Rakdos scam deck that won the last Pro Tour.
What deck?
Rakdos Evoke.
There it is.
Jeff is playing a more mid-range approach without those Evoke elementals or Feign Death effects, and playing more, typical 1-for-1, maybe 2-for-1 Rakdos cards.
Yeah, Thoughtseize, Lightning Bolt. Still playing Dothi
Exactly.
Voidwalker, I'm assuming.
Definitely playing Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah, that card's pretty nice. So basically just not doing the whole Evoke package, but that's okay. Probably still has some Furies running around somewhere just because Fury's like a great card, would be my guess. But
Looks like we've got some Shouldreds, we've got some Turoks, and we've got some One Rings in the main deck.
that's pretty cool. So tell us about his opponent's deck and what he's going to be facing off against.
Playing against Jared Ellis on Burn. Classic modern
Huh.
archetype.
Mm.
We'll see if Jeff has built his deck to be able to combat this Burn deck at the farthest possible end of the aggression spectrum.
All right, I have to point out something real quick because the man, the myth, the legend, the most recent Pro Tour champion, Jake Beardsley, your friend,
Right?
is in Twitch chat right now, and he says,
Hi, Jake.
Wizards of the Coast made me call it Evoke. I wanted to call it Scam. Well, I gotta tell you something, Jake. The world doesn't revolve around you, and they made that decision completely independent of you playing the deck.
But, now we're in a post Jake Beardsley Pro Tour champion world. Maybe the world does revolve around him a little bit.
Well, at
We
least
can
in
give
his
Jake some say.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. But I will say this: if you ever tweet the words Rakdos scam on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, you're just gonna get flooded with bots telling you how to stop being
Yeah.
scammed or whatever. So
That's a pretty good incentive for me.
don't say it. Just say Evoke. It's not that hard. Anyway, let's go ahead and head down on to the match. We got round 3 underway here. And both players ready to go. We got Burn versus Rakdos mid-range. This isn't even the Evoke deck. It's just Rakdos Rock. That's the best we can come up with. That's fine. It's fine.
That's what Jeff calls it.
That's fine. I'm not going to give you too much of a hard time for it. Here's Jared Ellis playing the iconic Monastery Swiftspear on turn 1. Going to get in for a damage and work back Snodgrass's way. See what he wants to deploy on turn 1, if anything.
Always a little scared when Burn wins the die roll.
Blackleaf Cliffs. Looks like a couple lightning bolts. Looks like Orcish Bowmasters. Didn't see a second land sneaking around in there, so we'll see if he needs to draw one of those.
Gonna try to let Jared commit some burn spells to the stack before playing this lightning bolt. Just waiting as long as possible to reduce the information Jared has. Sacred Foundry shocked in.
All right, so Ellis going to be at 18. Snodgrass is at 19 from the Swiftspear. And now we're going to see if a flurry of burn spells comes before attacks. We're going to go Boar Charm your face.
Main phase.
Put it-
Upstairs.
Snodgrass to 15. We got Lightning Bolt. That's going to target Monster Swiftspear. Swiftspear down. Snodgrass down to 15. We're going to go back Snodgrass's way and see if he can find a threat or something here to start getting the engine going. Burning Catacombs is the land. Did have that land. Hiding in the back of the hand. Going to go fetch up likely Swamp so he can play Voidwalker. Doesn't want to get Blood Crypt because it deals him too much damage in the face of all these burn spells. But we're down to 14. And let's see what the play is.
Right, and Voidwalker, it's pretty good in most matchups. Oh, no Voidwalker. We're starting off with a Thoughtseize.
You know the noise that a vampire makes when you shine a UV light on them? They go,
Yeah.
right? Or they step out into the sun for half a second. That's every time I take damage myself when I'm playing against Burn. That's
Right.
the sound I make.
Kind of look like the guy in the art of that Thoughtseize duress there.
Oh, yeah. Hands turn into stone.
I'm melting away.
Yeah. All right. Skewer the Critics. So we trade 1 mana and 2 life for 3 life. A really bad exchange.
Jared, though, not a whole lot going on. We do have a Searing Blaze that eventually you'll be able to target a creature,
Right.
but Jeff has not deployed any threats yet, so it's just staying in hand.
All right. Looks like we picked up another copy of Lightning Bolt on Jared Ellis' side of things.
I believe that's actually a Lightning Helix.
Oh, maybe you're right. See, I thought it was one of the ones. So I've seen it on Arena before. It was on that sheet of 32 cards where they had to ban Brainstorm.
Right, Mystical Archive.
That's what I thought it was. But I
It
think
is a
Lightning
mystical
Helix, I think
archive.
Lightning Helix is also a mystical archive, though.
Correct.
All right, here is a goblin token being created from the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And here's Lightning Helix. Let's see where it goes. To the Dumpski.
Upstairs.
Snodgrass down to 9. Ellis gonna untap. A land lets him go Searing Blaze for full value against the Fable. Did he find it? He did last turn. He was holding it the whole time.
Yeah, Jared really trying to make sure he can be as flexible as possible with these land drops to make sure this Searing Blaze gets the maximum in. Gonna start off with a fetch, actually.
Must have drawn a 1-drop because now already has landfall from playing the fetch land, but gonna go ahead and crack it. Probably gonna go get a mountain. And that's going to allow him to play a 1-drop alongside the thing. All right,
Yeah.
That's the blank goblin. Whatever
Right.
sticker you want to put onto it. What's your favorite sticker to put on the goblin? I know that
Well-
Jared's favorite sticker. He's giggling already. I know which one.
I know most players' favorite, and I can make a pretty educated guess that this is Jeff's favorite as well. I'm gonna call that there is a mind sticker on that goblin.
Ah.
You can put the pieces together yourself,
All right.
and that mind goblin will hit the bin. And
3 damage for Snodgrass, down to 6. And here's a suspended Rift Bolt. That's what Ellis wanted to use that last mana on.
menacing.
And then we're going to go back to Jeff Snodgrass. We have Fable the Mirror Breaker taking up to Chapter 2. We can discard a couple cards, maybe looking for Shielded or something that can gain some life. A couple
Right.
removal spells go to the bin. No targets for those right now. We find land number 4. Do we have Swamp? We do. Fetch. Down to 5. Is it Shieldred time? If you're a Snodgrass fan, you are rooting for it.
Yeah, very few other routes through this game. Jared needs to play Shieldred and hope that, or sorry, Jeff needs to play Shieldred and hope that Jared has nothing going on this particular turn. Oh, no!
It's not a Shielder. It's the One Ring. Maybe just
The
protection.
actual perfect answer. If you're a burn player, this is what you're terrified of when you suspend a Rift Bolt like this.
Do we have to stop playing Rift Bolt now?
You know,
Are we there?
we're close.
We
It's
talked about this last night at F&M. This is embarrassing.
right. It's definitely the
Target
next
self.
on the list.
Target self
Target
with my
me,
Rift Bolt.
I guess.
The only legal target. Sheesh.
And you have to cast those suspend spells.
Yeah. All right, here's the
Goblin Guide. It's in play.
Your go. Do you
Jeff
wanna draw a
says,
card?
"Yeah, you got it, buddy."
I don't think he wants to draw a card. I think we're going to untap.
Right. Got very few life points to work with. This Fable will flip, so the Goblin Guide is at least a little bit handled. But can Jeff put anything else together to actually turn this game in a favorable direction?
All right, decides to go ahead and draw a card. That 1 point next turn might matter. We're going to filter some mana through Graven Cairns. Looks like we're going to dash a Ragavan. And we're going to attack. It's going to allow for a treasure and a card unless Ellis wants to block or kill it with a removal spell. Decides to just take it.
Lets it through. So still this late in the game, prioritizing that Goblin Guide. See if it can sneak a couple points of damage in this game.
If you're Ellis, you're super happy to see Mountain come off the top because that means you're not drawing it and Snodgrass isn't getting to play anything off the top of your deck. I see Bowmaster from Snodgrass. I don't know if that's enough, but we'll see. And Bolt to the face. Snodgrass down to 2, and we are in top deck mode. Can Ellis find a burn spell before Snodgrass finds some way to gain some life or protect himself?
See, will he slam it?
And is that...
Oh, it's a Goblin Guide.
Do we have a removal spell? Snodgrass. We're going to trigger. I know he has an Orcish Bowmaster in hand, so this is not going to be a lethal attack.
Very interesting, but the even if these Goblin Guides don't get through, Jeff is going to be going to 1 on this turn, and then has to find a way to get that ring off the battlefield if he's going to survive through to the turn after that.
All right, we're going to go Chump Chump, I believe.
Yeah, so this is cool. Jeff is prioritizing keeping that Reflection of Kiki Jiki in play, thinking that might be one of his outs to actually closing out this game.
Right. Okay, Snodgrass goes upkeep. We're going to go down to 1 life from the 1 ring. And now the draw 2 is going to be coming as well as
Right.
a way, you know, basically you're dead to the 1 life anyway. Might as well. Here's a Dash Ragavan. Gonna attack you for 2. We're going to see what's up on the other side. Interesting. Finds Rift Bolt.
Rift Bolt.
I don't think you can suspend that off of Ragavan,
I
but
believe-
I honestly don't know.
I believe suspend specifies from hand.
hand. You know, I
Correct.
think you're right on that too.
So yeah, Jeff's got very few options at this point other than to hit that ring button, try to draw 2, and get another copy.
Surprised he didn't start the turn by drawing 2, because it could have just changed entirely what he was trying to do. But
Right.
better late than never. Here we go, draw 2.
So the best case scenario when you're dashing this Ragavan is you want to hit another copy of Lightning Helix off your opponent's deck.
True.
And if that's the case, maybe you're trying to keep that ring at 1 and get your life total up to 4 and just leave yourself a few more turns to actually win the game.
Fair play, Matt. That's why I got you in the booth.
Yeah, you know,
Keep my ego in check.
I've been learning Burn recently. I know what my opponent's Ragavans are trying to hit.
You've been learning how to handle me, too, I think.
Oh, yeah. Got to.
All right. Here comes a backup Ragavan. This is going to kill the dashed one, but we're going to have a blocker. But unless Snodgrass has some way to gain at least 2 life, he's going to be dying to his own copy of the One Ring next turn. Here's Thunderous Wrath.
Woo!
Off the top, that's a big burn spell. You're dead. Snodgrass packs it in, and Jared Ellis takes game number 1. Now, while these players are shoveling up here for game number 2, I'm going to have my man Matt going over their sideboards. Matt, why don't you tell me who you're looking at and what you think they're going to do?
All right, Jeff playing the Rakdos midrange deck here is packing 3 Blood Moons, 3 Chalice of the Void, 3 Hidetsugu Consumes All, 2 Unlicensed Hearse, and then 1 Ratchet Bomb, 1 Shieldred's Edict, 1 Turok Dread Cantor, and 1 Shieldred the Apocalypse. So only a handful of these cards are relevant in this matchup. Definitely the biggest one is Shieldred the Apocalypse, providing a way to actually dig out of the hole your opponent's trying to put you in.
Yeah, got to get those sneaky thought seizes out, though, right?
Right, that'll definitely be a priority. And then Jared on Burn. Let's see what's relevant in this matchup. We have 2 Shattering Spree, 2 Ensnaring Bridge, 2 Deflecting Palm, 3 Smash to Smithereens, 3 Path to Exile, and 3 Sanctifier on Vec. Definitely going to be seeing those Sanctifier on Vex against the Rakdos deck. Very few answers to it, although we did see Jeff packing that single copy of Shieldred's Edict.
Nice. That's one that I actually really liked for Pioneer recently.
Right.
You know, to kind of supplement the removal spells. Not only can it be like an Edict in weird spots because it gets around tokens, but the fact that it can hit Planeswalkers too is really cool. So
Right.
that being an answer for the Sanctifier on Invec is really nice.
Right. And aside from the Sanctifiers, Jared also, I'm going to be interested to see whether these Path to Exiles come in.
Sure.
This is kind of a contentious card in Burn sideboarding because you definitely want it for the absolutely enormous cards like Murktide Regent, but then you get to these matchups where it's like, yeah, I want to get that Shieldred off the battlefield, but is it worth having this card in my deck that doesn't do damage to my opponent?
All right, well, it seems like Snodgrass knows what he wants to do and is already ready to go. Get Thought Seizes out, get Shieldred and some other things in, while his burn opponent is contemplating Path to Exile and those other things that Matt was talking about. But while we're waiting for these players to finish up sideboarding and shuffling, I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, Ultimate Guard, for providing us with a huge swag pack for all of our Invitational qualifier stores. The Apex Invitational will be held in November. If you or your store wants to run an Apex Invitational qualifier, make sure to check out apexgaming.gg for more information. Thanks again to Ultimate Guard for handing us all these awesome deck boxes. We got the Sidewinder, we got the Archon, we got all sorts of awesome stuff to give, the Archives, excuse me. We got all sorts of awesome Ultimate Guard stuff to give away in those swag packs, and we'll be giving stuff to our finalists and top 8 here as well. Any invitational qualifier from Apex Gaming will receive our Ultimate Guard swag pack, and it is large. Also, thanks to G Fuel Energy Formula. We're going to have a long day, 8 rounds of Swiss, followed by top 8. Thanks for keeping us energized. And lastly, thanks to Wings Etc. Grill and Pub for keeping us fed after a long day of hard work. I'm going to be up there in a few hours having my fill.
yeah.
It's going to be a good day. All right, Matt. Why don't you give me a rundown? What's going through your head when you're the burn player in this matchup? Because it seems like he's really tanking. And we talked a little bit about the sideboard already, but like, is there any one card in the main deck that you're like, I have to get this out? Do you have to get Riftbolt out because the One Ring is in the deck?
So it's still going to be good. You're never going to be too unhappy. There are always going to be turns when the ring isn't coming down and you can just pay 3 mana. But if you're looking to get those Sanctifiers in, definitely the first place I'm going to be looking is those Rift Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted to go up to the full 6 cards with those Path to Exiles, I have seen some spots where the Burn player is interested in sideboarding out Lightning Helix just because of what I mentioned, that's actually a threatening card for your opponent's Ragavans to hit off your deck.
Nice.
So we'll see what Jared opts for, but there are some options here.
All right, well, as they're finishing up, I want to tell you about what these players are playing for. Today's Modern $5,000 Open has a cash prize payout of $5,000. 9th through 16th place, $100 cash. 5th through 8th each receive $250. 3rd and 4th each receiving $500. 2nd place, $700. And up top, the big payout, first place, $1,500. A great payday for anyone who plays Magic, because mostly we're just doing it for fun. But $1,500, that'll take you on vacation to Jamaica or something, man. That's pretty good.
Yeah, or it'll buy you some more Magic cards.
It will buy you some more Magic cards, but only like 2 collector boxes of Lord of the Rings or whatever, right?
Right.
They're just $1,000 each.
And you can't even get the 101 ring in those
I
anymore.
know. That's unfortunate. But it is cool, right? Post Malone able to hook up with the person who opened it, and now an iconic figure in our society owns the One Ring and will be showing it off. Already brought it to Commander Game Night the other night. I saw some people on Twitter
I saw that.
holding it and talking about it. And honestly, a one-of-one item in a game that's collectible like Magic,
very special.
It's so cool. And I hope they don't really overdo it. That's like my one fear is just too much of the good thing.
Right.
Like obviously, chocolate cheesecake's pretty great, but if you have to sit there and eat 1, 2, 3 whole chocolate cheesecakes, eventually you're gonna start throwing up.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But our players, it looks like they're drawing their opening hands.
Playmat Showdown with a new sub. Thank you so much.
Let's see if they're keepable.
All right, up first is going to be Jeff Snodgrass deciding whether or not to keep, and then Jared Ellis taking a look as well. Snodgrass going to be on the play, and we're off to the races. Marsh flats on turn 1, no play. Back Jared Ellis's way. Watch how Jared draws. He does have copies of Thunderous Wrath in his deck. That powerful Miracle card deals 5 damage when you're lucky enough to draw it off the top.
That's true. Very spicy inclusion from Jared.
Okay, Snodgrass going to fetch. Down to 19. Every point matters, so fetching the dual land tapped, obviously.
The Rift Bolt here, this is one of the few turns in the game where you're not threatened by the One Ring. Your opponent doesn't have any mana yet, so you want to get those out of your hand as quickly as possible.
Right. All right. Castle Lochthwain here for Snodgrass. Plays turn 2, Dauthi Voidwalker. And that's going to be a nice clock. We'll see if Jared wants to target it with a Rift Bolt or just go face. If he does go face, then the Voidwalker will be able to sacrifice itself to cast the Rift Bolt later on. It looks like
or it could just attack for 2 with Shadow.
3, excuse me. So
Sorry,
3-2?
3, yes. The ideal situation for Jared is he wants to find a Searing Blaze for this Dauthi. Looks like we're going to be casting some spells instead. Voidwalker not able to block that Swift Spear with Shadow.
Yeah, so Shadow's this weird ability. Many of you know what Dauthi Voidwalker does, but most of you probably aren't familiar with Tempest Block, which came out before most of you were born. But Tempest Block gave us Shadow as a mechanic, and it essentially was like flying, but only things with flying can interact with each other in combat, and Shadow is that ability. Dauthi Voidwalker exists in a world with very few other Shadow creatures in Modern.
Right.
There's only a scant handful from Time Spiral where some of those old Tempest cards were reprinted, and then they made like a couple of homages.
Right. So we saw on Jared's turn, the Rift Bolt enabled Spectacle on the Skewer the Critics, so we were able to play the Swift Spear, Skewer the face, and get in for, I think that was an 8 damage turn all told.
All right. Well, Snodgrass down to 11. Ellis here draws for turn. Let's see if he can put up some damage. The Dauthi Voidwalker chose not to go Rift Bolting on the Swift Spear, instead prioritizing the damage. I think that's key. That means to me that Snodgrass probably has removal in hand, something like Fatal Push or maybe Terminator, Kolgun's Command.
And Jared with God's Perfect Mana Base, 3 copies of Inspiring Vantage on turn 3.
You know what? That's true, because those lands are ridiculously good. I love them.
Right.
Here's a Boros Charm and a Goblin Guide. We got a lot of damage coming upstairs. Snodgrass gonna need a little bit of help. Down to 7 with 4 points threatening to come across. And we'll see. That one should be exiled too. They all go to the exile zone.
Yeah, they'll get there.
Will they? I'm a big stickler for maintaining the game state, sir. I've lost my
That's very
fair
true.
share of judge calls because of it. Here's Fatal Push.
Well, the Swift Spear is in the Void Zone.
All right, here's Bowman. That's going to pop the Goblin Guide for 1 and likely going to trade with the Orc Army, if I had to guess.
This is another one of the strengths of Orcish Bowmasters. Just gives you so much material, and then your 2-drop gets to trade with a 2/2 and leave something behind. It's pretty absurd.
I love that Ellis has put everything into the Exile Zone except for the Boros Charm. Hopefully it won't come up, but if it does, we'll get it fixed.
Right.
Snodgrass draws for turn. Plays his 4th mana source. We know he has Sheoldred's Edict. Does he have something like Sheoldred here to potentially help close the door and maybe even gain some life?
There's the Boros Charm.
All right, thank you so much to our director for getting that fixed for us. Here comes a big attack. 4 damage coming across. Ellis going to be down to 13, but precarious life total for Snodgrass.
Snodgrass says, wait a second.
Oh.
Before damage,
Wait a second.
I would like to amass Orcs 1.
Yeah. So 5 coming across. Plus the 1 from the Bowmaster. That's 6 total damage this turn. And now
Jared now in the danger zone. That Voidwalker threatening to convert instead of 3 damage for 4 with that Boros Charm. Jared's gonna need to close the game out because Jeff has a lot of pressure.
Matt.
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Danger zone. Sorry, you said danger zone. I can't not do it. I'm sorry. That's the old Archer reference. My bad.
Speaking of danger zone, how about a Roiling Vortex? It's a different kind of danger zone.
Yeah, it's dealing damage to both players, though, and unless Jared Ellis can find a way to deal these last few points, those 1 damage per turn ticks from the Rolling Vortex could come to backfire.
Right, and this Vortex, importantly, also does shut off the Voidwalker pretty well. If you cast that spell for free, you're going to be taking 5.
That's scary. All right, we're going to go fetching. Snodgrass down to 6. Going to be down to 5 from the Vortex. I saw a white card peeking out of Jared Ellis' hand. Could be a Sanctifier Invect, but I'm thinking it's Path to Exile, and I'm thinking that it's time to target that Dothy Voidwalker pretty quick.
Yeah.
Here. Doesn't want to main phase it because that does give Snodgrass access to some extra mana untapped on his own turn, so expect it on upkeep or after draw step or sometime in combat. I would love him for him to target the Voidwalker after upkeep to kind of bait Snodgrass to cast Boros Charm.
Ooh.
Because the Rolling Vortex secondary trigger is like not something that comes up a whole lot.
Right.
But when it does, sometimes it's like out of nowhere. Like you just like, oh man, I forgot that I'm actually casting this thing. I'm not paying mana for Solitude. Bang, take 5.
You look at the Vortex and you're like, all right, whatever. It's hurting me every turn, and it's also, it's a Rhino's sideboard card.
Right.
It hurts those Cascade decks. Not me. Not a good old Rakdos rock deck like myself.
Alrighty.
And interestingly, we might have seen the Vortex change the calculus for Jeff a little on that fetch land. He's holding it up, trying to delay fetching it as long as possible, but then once he sees he's going to be put down to 6 by the Vortex, he figures there's not too much harm in going down to 5 and get that mana online.
Alright, let's see how Snodgrass wants to approach this turn. Gonna go tapped Blood Crypt. Gonna swing for 3. So it looks like he's planning to use the Dothy Voidwalker. If he does, he's gonna get killed by the Rolling Vortex. This is so scary.
Jared probably trying not to give anything away, but rubbing his hands together in anticipation.
Alright, I'm rubbing my hands together in anticipation. I want to see fireworks. I want to see the biggest blunder in history. Who's the baseball guy? Through his legs. Everyone makes fun of him forever.
Guess by Buckner.
Buckner. I want him to see him Buckner it.
3 mana, Skewer.
Bang.
Upstairs.
Alright. Down to 2. Vortex puts him down to 1. It's not quite it. If he had attacked with the Dothy Voidwalker, he'd be attacking for lethal right now.
I believe he's still attacking for lethal if he doesn't sacrifice it, of course. We have 6 power in play plus the Vortex. We could be seeing Jared lose this game.
Here we go. Voidwalker activate. We're going to go cast a Boros Charm. Down to 3. Do you remember your Vortex? Oh no, it's a double buck. It's a double Buckner situation. Oh, he called it. He's like, oh, I didn't
You
see
got
it. The
me.
Rolling Vortex kills you. And Jared Ellis takes it down 2-0 with burn. Snodgrass, not a lot of options, but unfortunately, a small blunder there costs him the match, and he's going to fall to 2-1.